Hi everyone, thank you for following the blog. Today I'm interviewing Mr. Nick Otte, Vice President of Stadium Operations at Q2 in Austin, Texas. Mr. Otte, can you introduce yourself real quick and your background?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, Vice President of Stadium Operations with Austin FC. Been with the club going on 5 years now. Started in 2020. I've been working in MLS for, gosh, 11 years now. That seems crazy. But been in various jobs within stadium operations my whole career, and now overseeing the whole department here. So we operate the building from a staffing perspective, from a setup perspective, safety, security, private events, like all of the above, everything that happens in the stadium. Our team is tasked with operating it, and our sustainability and zero waste is a big piece of that. So I'm excited
Great.
to
Well, thank
talk
you
through
for
that with
being
you.
here. I really appreciate you doing this. So my first question is, for those who may not know, what are the LEED and True certificates, and why are they important for a stadium?
Yeah, I think the both of those things, from a real zoomed out view, are important to us, because sustainability is important to our brand, is important to our ownership, is important to the city, is something that we want to embody. It's important to our fans, maybe most importantly, but specifically the LEED certification is something that was coordinated and executed through the construction process of the building. So LEED itself has several different certifications. Ours is specifically associated with the construction of the building. And, I wasn't super involved with that process, or really involved at all, given when I joined. But it was, a combination of our architect, our construction company, our project management team, and our ownership group coming together to make sure that the way the building was designed and built achieved so many credits to get us to the gold level within the LEED system. So basically, in a nutshell, says that the building was built to to be an efficient and sustainable building through a handful of different credits. The true certification is something that I was more directly involved in, and sort of led from our side. It's a more narrow focus of sustainability, and specifically on the zero waste side of things. So our goal as a building, our goal through that certification is to divert as much waste from the landfill as possible. So, of all of the trash, et cetera, that's collected in our building, we want to either recycle, compost, reuse, reduce, et cetera, at least 90% of that, in order to get that zero waste certification. So we did that with a handful of other credits and requirements through the True system, and just last year became the first soccer specific stadium in the world to gain that certification, which was a big thing for us, and big thing for our ownership and our stakeholders too. It's something we really hang
Yeah,
our head
that
on,
is
and we're
something to
really
be
proud
proud
of.
of. Those are two very impressive certifications that must have been really hard to uh, obtain. Those are just great accomplishments. Um, so, how
Thank you.
does making a stadium environmentally friendly benefit the local community or even the fans directly?
Yeah, I think it's something, I don't want to say unique to Austin, but certainly prioritized in Austin, maybe more than other cities in our league, and other cities across the country. But I think the biggest thing for us is knowing that sustainability, zero waste, etc., is something that our fans care about, is something our city cares about. So, given that one of our goals, a part of our mission statement, is to be a flag bearer for the city of Austin and be something that the city can, attach to and be proud of. We want to do that. We want to embody the goals and the priorities of the city. So, beyond that, it's maybe in a more literal sense. We want to do our best to reduce the amount of waste we're generating. Be smart with our resources in terms of utility and transportation. Part of our sustainability platform it includes the work we do in the city's green spaces. So, park and waterway cleanups, tree planting operations, park beautifications, things like that. So, again, maybe more literally, we want to do our best to help improve the city and the community with the resources that we have, and our focus on sustainability has really allowed us to do a
That's
lot of cool
great.
things there.
Yeah, as a professional sports team in Austin, you guys definitely have a lot of influence over the city and the fans and just everyone living in Austin. So I think that's great that you guys are uh, taking leadership for sustainability in the environment and really making it something important for the city.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. We know that the city values those things. We know that our fans value those things, so they're leading as much of that as we are. We want it to be a partnership with everybody involved to make sure that we're collectively prioritizing the right things and doing right by the city because
Yeah,
it's in
for sure.
everybody's best interest.
So when you were going through the true certification process, what was one creative solution your team came up with to meet a sustainability goal or overcome a issue or conflict?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing and maybe the most creative thing we did was a full renovation to our waste collection space at the stadium. Maybe that doesn't sound that cool, but it was a pretty exciting project for us. We in order to get to that 90% threshold, we began sorting all of the waste we collect by hand in our back of house spaces a few years ago, and really realized that our building wasn't built to do that efficiently or comfortably. We had a small space that we were doing it in. We were doing it on stationary tables. We actually had to do it in a few different locations just based on where our dumpsters were located. So, long story short, we worked really closely with Texas Disposal Systems, who is our waste hauler and a partner of ours to design what we call the mini MRF, the mini material recovery facility, which is if you go to Texas Disposal's facility, they've got a giant warehouse that has all kinds of conveyor belts and chutes and things like that to, as you can imagine, handle the volume of waste that they get at their facility. We worked with them to build a miniature version of that in our existing waste collection room, complete with two conveyor belts. We adjusted our trash chutes, we adjusted our dumpsters, and really, I think creatively reimagined that space so that it could work better for us. Which, I think that problem in and of itself is probably a significant hurdle for a lot of venues, is that they just don't have the space or don't have the infrastructure. We were in that same boat, even being a relatively brand new stadium, but we're able to work through a creative solution there to do something that I think is a cool thing and can hopefully provide an example for anybody trying to
Yeah,
get to the same point we
that
are.
was definitely a creative way of looking at it. Like, I wouldn't think that you said you were taking the waste off of like stadium property and sorting it.
We did it all on in stadium, but we would do it on basically a folding table, right? So if you can imagine dumping what turns into 7-ish tons of trash for a normal Austin FC match, if every single bag of that trash has to go onto a series of folding tables, it's not going to be an easy process to keep up with. And you're literally having to handle every single piece of trash that comes through that space. Whereas now it all gets thrown down a trash chute right onto a conveyor belt, and then our staff can, as it goes by on the conveyor belt, pick out the recyclable pieces, pick out the little bit of landfill waste that we still have, and leave the rest, all of the compost, all of the food, etc., stays on the conveyor belt, falls right into the dumpster. It's just, in general, it's a much easier, more efficient, more comfortable process, and
Yeah,
has really worked
it
out well for
definitely
us.
sounds a lot better, the conveyor belt for the staff that's actually sorting the waste than having to put it all on a folding table and have
Hmm.
to touch every single piece of trash. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
mentioned
definitely.
90% waste, like efficiency. Is that something that is required by True to reach the highest level of the certification, or was that like a,
Yeah, the 90% is sort of the industry standard for zero waste. So, understanding zero waste doesn't necessarily mean zero waste. But 90% is actually the baseline threshold to be true certified. So anything less than 90 and you can't achieve their certification. So, we got to that 90%, but we also achieved enough of their other credits, which, span across several different categories, including, training and purchasing and policy development and policy review. We were able to meet the minimum requirements plus achieve enough credits to get to their gold level, which is one below the top level that they have, and we were actually one single credit short of that top level. We're hopeful to recertify here in the short term, either this year or next year at the platinum level, which is the highest level. But yeah, the 90% is a requirement. If you can't get to that, then you're not able to
okay,
get to the
got it.
certification.
And so obviously that's something that was required by True. Are there any other ways that you guys push yourselves just within the organization and community um, that just, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think we've always set a standard for ourselves. I say we. I think that comes from our ownership group. It comes from the city leadership. It comes from, like I said, it comes from our fans. Like we want to do the best we can because we want to be the best we can. It's not. It doesn't all come from external pressure. I think a great example of that, going back to the lead process itself. Again, I was not not really involved in this. It was wrapping up right as I joined the team, but there was a requirement, from my understanding, from the city of Austin to make this stadium at least LEED Silver certified. So they have a similar process as with True, where you can get the baseline certification, but then there are ways to overachieve and step into some higher levels. We had that requirement from the city to be at the silver level, but decided on our own through our ownership group, through the project management team, that we wanted to and had the ability to achieve that at a higher level, and ultimately landed at the gold level, which was above the requirement. So, to your point, and to answer your question, I think we're always looking for ways to, be true to our brand, be true to the wants of our ownership group, to the wants of our fans, and keep doing things, keep developing our programs to come up with new ways. Whether it's additional projects in the community, park restorations, etc. Whether it's new processes at the stadium, we're always trying to improve because it is what our brand is. It is what we want to do. It's a part of our core operation here,
yeah.
and we're going to keep
That's
trying to
really
evolve it.
inspiring to hear that um, you can achieve the True certification, but then just going even further and pushing harder to do more. So the MLS is the biggest soccer league in the United States, uh, like right behind the national USA team. Um, so are you guys working with any other stadiums at the moment in the MLS around the country to achieve true, or is that a goal?
Yeah, it's not something we're doing actively. I think our organization is a part of the Green Sports Alliance, which is a network of people in the sports industry that, prioritize sustainability, and there's a lot of zero waste conversation that comes with that. There are a handful of other teams that are a part of that. St. Louis is there. I think Minnesota is consistently in those conversations. Maybe a few others that I'm sure I'm missing. But it's a little difficult for us to. I shouldn't say it's impossible, but every city has such a different set of circumstances with the resources they have, with how old their stadium is, like all kinds of things. So I think the best thing we can do, and again, we haven't done a lot of this. Maybe it's something we should look further at and try to do some more outreach. But I think the best thing we can do is provide some sort of case study for what we did in our building, because I think even if the specific tactics don't translate, I think some of our approaches should. Our approach to engaging stakeholders, our approach to prioritizing corporate partners that are invested in sustainability, our approach to training and attention to detail with our staff. Like those are all things that I'm hopeful could serve as an example, not just in our league, but in the industry as a whole. Because I'm pretty proud of what we were able to do and put together in that regard. I hope that as if and when more teams in our league really jump into the zero waste space, and again, there's a handful that are doing exciting things. I certainly don't mean to suggest we're the only ones, but I'm hopeful that we can provide some guidance and be some sort of example there, because I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of cool things that we did.
that's. I think it's really cool that Austin is the first one to do this and has the opportunity to kind of mentor the other cities to follow in our footsteps in a way, not like take the exact route as us,
Hmm.
but just continue making an impact. Um,
Yep.
so, do environmentally sound practices for the stadium, does it save money for the business, or is it more just about environmental leadership?
No, there is definitely monetary advantages. I think in a very literal sense, I can tell you that our waste hauler charges us, rates based on, tonnage of our waste streams, and tonnage in the exact dumpster that they're pulling at that time. And our rates for our landfill stream are higher per ton than our compost or our recycle stream. So if we have if we have a lot of landfill waste, we're going to be paying a higher rate to have that hauled, as opposed to where we're at now, where again above 90% of our waste is recyclable or compost, which is billed at a lower rate. We're directly incentivized to reduce the amount of landfill waste in that regard, and keep our costs down, because it's less expensive for us to haul compost and recycle than it is landfill. I think in a less literal sense, or maybe a less specifically definable sense, I think our focus on sustainability and zero waste makes us an attractive partner for a lot of different organizations and businesses in our area. Like take Yeti, for example, who is a founding partner of ours. They're on our jersey. They've been on our jersey since year one. So much of their company, and marketing is focused around sustainability and their impact on reducing waste and being environmentally friendly. So both they and us have a desire to push forward our own sustainability initiatives. So aligning aligning with a company like that and with a company like us is beneficial on both sides, if that makes sense. So I think it helps us in the partnership space to be able to attach other brands and other companies and other partners to our sustainability goals, because those companies have a lot of options on where they can spend their money, on what organizations they can attach their brand to. If they're in a conversation with a company that doesn't share those values, or a team that doesn't share those values, they might just walk, right? So we very much want to be in that space, and aligning with brands that share that priority. And I think maybe most importantly there, that sort of priority is becoming more and more common across all industries. And so it only makes that process easier. It only makes us more attractive to those partners, which is a big
Yeah.
part of our business.
That's really interesting to think about. Like I never thought that uh, like taking environmental leadership or just having care for that aspect is something that would attract businesses and sponsors. So that's really cool to kind of see. Are there any other goals that Q2 has sustainability wise?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a top of mind conversation for us. We actually were just talking with somebody who works for Gensler, who was the architect that designed our building, and they were talking about new versions of the LEED program that are being rolled out. And there is a version of LEED where you can get certified as an operator of the building rather than just the building itself. There's plenty of overlap there with the credits and whatnot, but I think that's something that we're looking into. But now that we are, I don't want to say on the back end of the true certification, because it's an ongoing thing that we need to be mindful of, and keep our processes up. We are hopeful to figure out what's next, right? We want to, like I said earlier, we want to keep evolving. We want to understand how is the industry shifting. What are other teams doing? What else exists out there that can help us improve? Whether it's zero waste or resource efficiency, utility reduction, all of that. So I don't have a great answer for you. I think we're probably in the ideation stage to figure out what's out there, and what could be next for us. But I can safely, or hopefully safely, say there will be something next. We're going to try to keep moving forward and evolving. Just don't know exactly
Okay,
what's on the
yeah,
horizon.
that's great. That's a great answer. Um, my last question for you is kind of off topic and more personal, but what's your favorite part about the job? Is it being able to see the players, or working in a city that you love and making an impact there?
Yeah, I think it's something close to the latter there. I think the way I like to answer that question is, my favorite part of Austin FC is just how much it means to people. It's from the very beginning. I mean, even before I got here, right? Anybody that was in this city and saw how the team was coming together and the brand was building could see the excitement behind it. And then, being here for our opening match in 2021, and just feeling the crowd and how excited they were. And that's a passion that for the most part continues to this day, right? We're 4 or 5 years in, and you can still see, how much people care, and how much the team and the club means to them. Not just as a group of guys that are kicking a ball in a net, right? It goes beyond that. It's something that the community can get behind. It's something that people can be a part of. And as somebody who had, I hadn't lived in Austin before I got this job. I hadn't even been to Austin before I got this job, so I was coming in blind, only knowing what I knew of the city from reading and doing a little bit of research before I moved. But it was just blown away from the start. The passion and the excitement that exists in the city, and specifically exists around our club, because it's infectious. It makes you want to, uh, do your job to the best of your ability. It makes you want to jump on board with the company goals and try to advance things further, because again, in a nutshell, you can see how much it matters to people, and that's just something that
Yeah,
you really want to be
I
a
can
part of.
definitely relate to that. Um, just first hearing that Austin's going to have a professional sports team, that was super exciting to me because I've lived here my entire life, and um, all all the sports I watch, like football and basketball, we don't have a team like that in Austin, and that's something that I'd always wanted. So
Hmm.
um, I can definitely relate to that. And even several years later, going to the FC games, it's just a great fun time.
Yeah, yeah, we're lucky. The like I said, the excitement is unmatched, and
Yeah.
it's been cool to be a part
Well,
of.
thank you for your time, Mr. Audi. I really enjoyed talking to you and learning more about your job.
Of course, likewise, appreciate you reaching out. I enjoyed the conversation. It's always fun to talk about this stuff because it means a
Yeah.
lot to me. It means a lot
All
to the
right.
club.
Well, maybe I'll see you at one of the games or just around the city.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah,
Take
hope
care.
so.